Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our 2K celebratory stream, made possible only because of viewers like you. Thank you so much for everything that you have provided for this channel. Well, over the I think like the 2 months it's been around, it's been pretty insane. This is very wild. Never thought the channel would grow at the rate that it has. You guys have been so supportive, and thank you for everything, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. That is for sure. A couple of things to housekeeping things, let's say. Obviously, you know, the events last weekend, you know, it I know it shook a lot of people up. It definitely shook people up around here, and so it may have upended even some of our coverage, some of being able to get together and you know, really celebrating with you, talking about the media and entertainment industry and so forth. And that's I don't want to say that's the entire reason, but it might be partially the reason why we weren't able to get things together the way we wanted to for Hollywood Backlit with Lou and you. It is still coming, folks. And if you haven't heard, or if you missed the video explaining that on this channel, well, we have it planned right now to do a huge Hollywood Backlit with Lou and you special report edition of the show, going over the new IATSE and AMPTP contract or agreement that is tentative. They will be having a vote on it very soon. We have it under good authority that they will likely, all parties involved, will vote to ratify it, and it will be the agreements going forward for Hollywood and IATSE members, but it also has implications for all of the other guilds as well, which you'll find out why that is when that show goes live. But that was going to be a very special live production that will involve many people, including Lou Wasserman, of course. But we have plans to have a couple of people who are actually here will be joining us on that stream. So it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. You want to tune in Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern is when that will go live, and it's going to be a fantastic show. It's a 71-page document, huge document, but it has ramifications for the entire entertainment industry. But putting that together, we've been really working hard to put together the best presentation and program for you, and we just wanted to do it right. It's basically how I will put that. However, speaking of doing things right, we couldn't do things right here unless we had some amazing panelists and guests joining us. The people who have made this channel what it is, who have made this channel possible. We gotta recognize these fine people. We have Barry Place 28. We have Nolan Thunder, and we also have the amazing Culture Casino. Culture, thank you so much for joining us today. And if people don't know, the graphics that you see attached to essentially every single video that we produce, well, they're by this guy right over here. Culture, thank you for joining us.
Well, no, thank you for the wonderful words. But I'm telling you what, there are some video segments that I think are quite brilliant that I did not do. There are some video clips I think are spectacular. And I think, that person deserves a little praise as well, because, wow,
yes,
the animation's fantastic. But no, I wanted to pop in. This is a big day. We got some big numbers here. I think 2K. That's a lot, my friend. Well done.
Man.
Yeah, that's amazing. Crazy. Congratulations. 2,000.
Wasn't gonna let you.
2,000. That is
wasn't gonna let you get away without talking about it, Vash. So, come on.
Hey, I very much appreciate Culture. Nolan, Barry Place 28, Bob. You all have been so supportive of this channel. Coming back week after week in some cases to support us. It's just been phenomenal, and I couldn't have done it without the people on this panel right now, and I especially couldn't have done it with the audience. I mean, it's just you are what drives us, and to do what we do on our channels, including this one, and well, we couldn't be more humble, gracious, and thankful for all of that. That is for sure. But Culture, you got that game place. You guys achieved 1,000. I mean, basically, in the time it takes for one to sneeze, you were already at 1K. How do you guys do it over there?
I can take no credit. I have a great team. Nolan's part of that team. We've got a lot of people in the background that are working really hard. Obviously, Jonas, who seems to be everywhere all the time, and so many more. We've got Spencer and Space Dave 2000 and Loki and my goodness, I'm forgetting Marvin. Can't forget Marvin, and of course, as I said, many others. Yes, Nolan, go.
You know that grind that all the fitness gurus talk about? That is Culture Casino.
Oh, I don't know about that. I do know this. This is an amazing day. I'm so grateful that this channel is elevating, and it's changing kind of the space a little bit into having a separate podcast that has some clips and different conversations, and obviously great live streams like this one. So you're doing something special over here, Vash. Don't try to deflect, buddy. All right? Don't do that.
I very much do appreciate that, Culture. That means a whole heck of a lot. Nolan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always cool to see you, brother. Thank you so much. And Bob,
No problem.
I get so happy when you come right in. I think anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes before the show, because it's like, wow, I get to spend another hour or so with Bob, one of my favorite people to hang out with at the parks. So cool. So let's go ahead
thank
and
you for having me every week
right.
so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's if I love sending out links to everybody and saying, hey, you can, love to have you. If you can't, ain't no big deal.
When everybody else betrays you, Barry Place 28 will be there.
Wow. Okay, I like that endorsement.
I don't know if it's a
man
betrayal
standing.
if you don't show up, but put in the hours every single week. Thank you so much. And now, a culture. I know you are very busy around this time because you got Mr. H, right? Coming right up after this program.
Yeah, after this show, yeah, indeed. That's one of the reasons I got here a little earlier, as soon as I could. And I won't be sticking around long. But like I said, I could not let it go unhonored that this channel has got amazing growth with amazing people. So
thank you. And this stream will be redirecting folks right after this one, right over to Mr. H. We'll get you all the culture casino you can handle. How about that, huh? But thank you so much for supporting us right now. I want to go ahead and get into it. I have a kind of a theme park question right here for all of you. As you know, Rise of the Resistance, well, it has been kind of a nightmare operationally. It suffers from frequent breakdowns, and it doesn't have, I would say, insane capacity. It has moderately good capacity. But we know in the theme park space, culture, I know you know, Bob, I know you know, that it is not the most reliable attraction out there. And so let me see if I can find my link here. Hang on, guys. Oh, yep, here we go. It was just recently announced that they are testing out a single rider for this, at least at Hollywood Studios over there in Walt Disney World. And I would say single rider is good. Every single time you implement it, I think there are benefits for the guests when they do that. And obviously, for capacity reasons, it's how you can fill every single one of these vehicles up to the fullest extent possible and get that you have a theoretical capacity, then you have like a true real life capacity that you can achieve. It brings that up extensively. Now, the controversy surrounding this, though, is that you don't actually go through the ITS shuttle portion when you do opt for the single rider line. And what I mean by that, folks, is that the story of this attraction is that you are joining on a mission for not the rebellion, but the resistance, and you're recruited by Rey. For some reason, you're inexplicably told where the base is, and then you're supposed to keep that secret hidden the entire time. Which is I always find kind of amusing in terms of story for the attraction. But anyway, you board an ITS shuttle that takes off from Batu, or the fictional location where this attraction takes place, and then you are essentially assaulted by the First Order, and while you're out in this ITS shuttle, and then you're tracked into that Star Destroyer. As part of that fleet that attacks your convoy, and now you are on board a Star Destroyer. Well, the single rider bypasses pretty much all of that and takes you right into the Star Destroyer portion. So I'll go ahead and let this play. This is from Attractions Magazine. Just kind of go into the process right here. A cast member takes you right over to the single rider kind of partial entrance right here. I think this is the emergency exit for the area between the ITS shuttle and the load room for Rey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they got to be careful how many people they're putting it there if that's an emergency exit.
I would think so. Perhaps there's a way that
there's more than one exit, though.
Right. If you need to get people out in a hurry, you could go through the doors on your.
Oh, okay. I know it's being skipped here. Yeah, because you have that big room with Rey and BB-8 and all that.
Right.
Oh, wait, you're
right.
So,
everything.
I don't like that.
You're going straight to the Star Destroyer.
Right, you're going straight to the Star Destroyer. You're bypassing the ITS shuttle and the pre-show. With Rey.
Kill the immersion like that. Oh,
yeah.
This is very controversial.
Look, boom. Now you're there. Now you're in the immersion.
Right.
For a second, I thought you were coming out where the whole fleet of the stormtroopers were, and I'm like, wow, that would kill the immersion even more. But okay, so it's from the side, but yikes. Big yikes.
So I kind of wanted to throw it to you guys. Do you think this is an acceptable way to do this? I've been thinking about how you could implement a system like this, and honestly, this makes the most logical or operational sense, but obviously the storytelling, which Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is all about, is very much ruined. What do you guys think?
It's not the end of the world, really. I think if they would just, they're Disney. I think if they could just invest in a little bit money in that hallway, just kind of where the walls are. I know there might be some regulations on how the size of the hallway can be. I could be wrong. But if they can, do like what they do here in that room, to where you have like the first order, like military stuff. So at least you're still going from, the more planetary look to the first order hangar. And it works. And, it's a kind of a double-edged sword. I remember years ago when me and my mother went to Universal Studios, there was a kind gentleman there who let us skip a bunch of like the pre-show stuff and go right into the ride. And it was pretty nice because we didn't have to wait for super long and it was a cool experience. So I think this is really cool for people who have already been on it. But I think they could really benefit from making that office room look better, because that kind of cheapens the feeling. But it's not really the end of the world for what the sacrifice is, I feel like.
So
Bob?
Here's my take on the whole thing. So when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, cool, they finally have a single rider. And then I saw kind of this video too. And I was like, wait a minute, we're totally bypassing Ray and the, getting on the shuttle. To me, the whole experience, for me, the ride starts when you actually go into that room with Ray and see BB-8, and then you head off to the shuttle. I mean, from there, it doesn't feel like a line queue. It feels like it's part of the ride and the attraction, which it is. And then obviously you go to the interrogation. Well, the thing is that the ride has been out for quite a while now. So my whole thing is, yes, this does take you out of the immersion. Now, if you've never done it before, then I feel like it's a disservice to the people who are doing it, but they should know up front that, they're not going to experience the whole, they're still going to experience the attraction, just experiencing it in a different way. Now, someone who I've been reading several different blogs about this, and someone actually said, even though it kind of takes you out of that immersion for just a bit, and you don't get the Ray, area in the shuttle, when you come into this room, people were coming off the shuttle thinking that we were, coming from a different shuttle, or we were, prisoners as well. And he thought, well, that was kind of cool because, people, for them, it didn't break the immersion, and they thought that we were like other, there was a different way to go. So I thought that was an interesting take on it too. But for me, I mean, look, this ride's been around for many years now. I stream at the park all the time. For me, it would be kind of cool and fun to do as a streamer because, hey, I can get in there real quick and ride the ride, not have to wait through this big, huge line. So I think it's fine. I would suggest to anyone who hasn't experienced a ride, don't do single rider unless you've already done it or you don't care about, the immersion. But I don't think it's a huge ordeal. The one thing I was thinking about what Nolan said about that hallway, and that hallway goes from, the rock work of Batu right to this gray hallway, which technically matches the Star Destroyer. And while it doesn't have any set pieces from the Star Destroyer or any of the inlays, it still kind of fits. So it's just abrupt. You're just going from one area to the next. And I don't think it's a huge ordeal just because this ride has been out for a long time at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. If it just had come out and it only been like 6 months to a year, I'd be like, oh, this kind of going to take everyone out of the immersion. This kind of is a bummer. But this has been around for a while, and most people have seen it or experienced it. And so I don't think it's a huge ordeal. And I'm glad they're finally adding a single rider option, because there's many times I've ridden this ride and there's 1 or 2 seats open on every single, not every single one, but on many of the, rides I've been on. So.
Barry, you were talking about that hallway again. I just wanted to throw this on because you gave me an idea actually of what you were saying. A cheaper thing they could actually do to take this bland gray hallway that sort of kind of fits. This reminds me of, has anyone ever heard of like coaster stock and stuff where you can go like, say at the Cedar Fair parks, you can go like behind the scenes of some of these rides and attractions and see like the internal operations, like for the most dedicated diehards out there. Wouldn't it be cool if they took that hallway and put some of like the concept art for the ride and maybe like some of the internal workings, like development stuff? Of course, you might have to worry about, it's less of a dedicated diehard fan experience when it's a single rider line, but it might be something cool as long as you don't have to worry about theft or anything, like putting some little pictures for development go a long way. And heck, they own Star Wars. They could put like concept art and stuff. That way you kind of get a feeling of everything that is Star Wars. It's not just what we saw on the silver screen. But that's
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me jump in here and give you 3 thoughts. One from the Imagineering perspective, one from the attractions operation perspective, and then one from just the practical nature of it all. Practically, this is genius. Problem, immersion. But on the operation side, I guarantee you that cast member is probably relaying the information. Now, there are parts of the attraction you're going to skip, because that is a practice when you have an immersive queue like this, that you're jumping in front of people.
Sure,
right? You
sure.
you miss if you're a disabled guest, you're missing the stretching room and some other things. Oftentimes, in Haunted Mansion, you're missing some elements in these things. That's normal. Sometimes you're missing other things as well along the way in various different attractions. And yes, it is rather bland. So, but filling all the seats, and this is the practical operation side of this, as Barry Place pointed out, and you pointed out, everybody pointed out, is beyond just filling the empty seats. It's also giving an opportunity for the cars, the ride vehicles, excuse me, at Disney, ride vehicles that need extra time to load for a disabled guest or something like that. It gives them, there's no pressure on that to dispatch faster, and there's no pressure. You have the ability to fill those seats. So that's another ride operations conversation. The third thing is, and it's most important, if you don't want to break this immersion, and I've seen the area around this building, build a hydrolator. Build a hydrolator from the Living Seas attraction before it got converted to Nemo, and you basically just make, okay, these are the emergency escape pods. You are a crew of one. We have these ships that we need for more people at a time. You're a crew of one. We're going to send you up in this escape pod. You hydrolator them. It's very low tech, and you just have a few of those hydrolator things, and then they are all of a sudden greeted by the First Order. And, when they arrive, they were tractor beamed in. It really wouldn't take a lot, a screen overhead and, some screens around, and project some stuff going on the outside, and you're done. It's not expensive. I mean, we're going to talk expensive in a while, I imagine here, but it's not expensive. It's not like reskinning an attraction poorly or anything like that. It's literally building just a few of these, low energy, low work, or hydrolator style things. It's an easy solution. I'm surprised nobody came up with it. Well, actually, I take it back. I'm not surprised nobody came up with it.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, you can easily take, because that area around that emergency exit off to the left before they have you turn to the right, that whole area could just be expanded. There's space, and you just put in these hydrolators, and you come out the other side, and then you're all of a sudden on the ship. Not that hard to do. It would take some construction, would be some visible construction perhaps, although there are scrim masters at Disney that can still do that stuff in the art department. But I'm just saying, those are the things that you can do to make this better. Anyway, that's all.
Well, yeah. Well, it's weird because like all of this is themed and themed really well. There was no reason to do any of that rock work if this was, always going to be a single rider process that took you through the back way there on the shuttle. It just seems like a little bit of a waste. I do think that Imagineering may have had a different way of doing this initially, where maybe they dedicate an entire ITS shuttle to just single rider participants, and you have them go through that. You know how that queue, you'll see it in this video actually, that in which you after you board the Star Destroyer, you get into those switchbacks, and they're divided in two. I always thought, that's kind of a weird thing that you have this kind of bar here dividing this line.
Ride return, disabled guests, stuff like that. So yeah,
right, exactly, yeah, absolutely. So I always kind of thought if we weren't going to use it for those things, particularly, then you could use it for single rider. And I think they that's what they're doing here now. And then you could just have an ITS shuttle dispatch dedicated simply for single rider guests and get them to do that way. Obviously, they've omitted that process, which operationally is far superior. I'm not saying it's not, but it's interesting how they've done about this. It's at least in a land that is hyper immersive the way it is. It's something, but I agree with you, Culture. Single rider is better. It's preferable to implement it. So even though it's not implemented, I would say in the most preferable way, better with single rider than without. That kind of you know, that's the vibe I'm getting right here. And we will have to see when this test, technically it is a test, is complete, whether they keep it. I think they might. And when can we get it over there at Disneyland? Come on now. Maybe
I know. I want it. That'd be great.
I know we need more single rider queues at Disneyland. That is for sure. Because you know what, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. You know, as much as I do like that attraction, I am, you know, I would prefer that there be a couple of other options. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I get it, but you know, if we get a couple more single rider rides, that would be fantastic. So there you go. Anyway, folks, at the top of the show right here, we are going to be covering a couple of things. One, I would say, very, very important topic, and one that I didn't see initially on the show last week. Actually, Jonas joined the show right before the start of our show, and I'm sorry, not the start, the end of our show, and said, "Hey, you guys covering this?" And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Jonas. And he brought it up, and we covered it very, very briefly at the end of last week's show. So right here, deadline: 14,000 Disneyland cast members will vote in the next 10 days on whether to authorize a strike. This is a huge, huge story right here. Now, at the time that we covered it last week, this is why I brought all this up. We thought this was, you know, this involved the entertainment cast members that we had been hearing so much about. Obviously, there's union disputes there. Apparently, this has nothing to do with that specific union. This is everybody else. Okay, 14,000. This is all the, you know, ride technicians. These are ride operators. These are, you know, custodial. These are candy makers, hotel cast members. This is a lot of people. 14,000. Culture, if I'm wrong, Disneyland Resort, I think they have anywhere between 28 to 32,000 cast members right now.
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah. I think it's been as high as 35, but they did a lot of cast reductions around the global crisis. So, yeah, I think you're correct. Yeah.
It was at 35 at one point.
Yeah.
I know that peak there, but I'm
yeah, no, I think operationally, I think they're probably sitting right around there. I'd have to double check, but
yeah, I would have to double check as well, but it's around that time. So 14,000, it's basically half of the entire Disneyland Resort going, you know what? We might strike. And that is huge. The largest bargaining unit of Disney workers in California, representing everyone from custodians and ride operators to candy makers and merchandise clerks, today announced that a strike authorization vote is scheduled for Disneyland cast members. The results are expected to be announced by July 20th after votes are tallied, and the unions have been notified. Have notified cast members. Unions representing 14,000 cast members at Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, Downtown Disney, and the Disney Hotels entered into negotiations with the company on April 24th, asking for what they are saying are fair wages, a fair attendance policy, seniority increases, and safe parks for cast members and guests. And we've covered this a little bit on That Park Place. I think you've already seen a video on this channel. The reason I'm bringing it up today is not only to clarify from the last show what this is really about and what they're asking for, like the fair attendance policy, for example. That is, people will note that a couple of years ago, Disneyland completely altered their attendance policy for cast members. Previously, it was a much more flexible system, and they made it far more restrictive after they had some abuse following the pandemic and attempting to hire as many hands as possible. Unfortunately, well, that included some abusers of the system, and they changed it to a far more strict system, which for cast members, you know, that have like a second job elsewhere or are taking care of family or are going to school, well, obviously that's not preferable, as one could probably expect. But there is an update to this particular story. This is Brooke Barnes here on Twitter. Brooke Barnes of the New York Times. It at least that's what the that's what's included here. Significant here because it says right here, the union standoff with Disneyland over and new contract is getting more acrimonious. More than 400 Disney cast members in costume will rally at the park's entrance on Wednesday afternoon. That's tomorrow, folks, amid of a strike authorization vote. That is a significant escalation here. Again, this is getting pretty serious pretty fast. If they do authorize a strike and they cannot come to an agreement, operations at Disneyland Resort effectively cannot continue. Guys, what do you think about all this?
I gotta say, that's gonna be must-see news if that's happening tomorrow, because 400 cast members in costume, like, I think the memes are gonna be writing themselves when you see like Mickey, Pluto out there with like stereotypical petitioning signs and all that. Like, I think that will be a day that it's not gonna look good for their image at all, especially if you have like little kids there. It's like, mommy, why is Mickey striking and stuff like that? It's gonna be like a very weird conversation, and really using the costumes to their advantage could put a lot of power in their hands. I could see this happening because, let's be real here, we've covered a lot of how badly Disney has been treating their employees, and a lot of people haven't even been able to make the cut just because of how they look. It's not a good system. I think that this was kind of a looming thing that could happen, and I'm impressed that a lot of the people there are actually willing to stand up for this. However, comes down to, is the strike actually going to work in their favor? And a lot of times, unfortunately, strikes do not. So it just kind of comes down to, especially where Disney is right now financially, I don't think they're truly going to get what they're looking for. But I do think, as far as what the C-suite's going to see, this could be a really bad scenario real fast of what kind of actions could be taking place. And the news is going to have a field day with this one. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bob?
So, and I think I told you guys in a previous episode or two, but my background is with human resources and labor relations. And so I'm very familiar with working with unions. I've worked on the union side. I've worked on the corporate side. And what's going to happen, kind of what Nolan said, is that they're going to go ahead and they may go ahead and strike. But the thing I found, and this is not against, the employees or anything like that, but typically what happens is, the union and the company will go to labor relations, meeting. They'll try to hash out the contract. This contract has been, done now since Father's Day in June. So it's been several weeks. I'm surprised they're not going back to the table to try to negotiate a little bit more. But, I think the union's thinking that, well, we'll just pull one over on Disney and we're going to try to, get what we want. The problem is that, unlike, auto workers and other people who are union who can go and, help out other, unions, there's not really a lot of employees that can, cross a picket line for this type of situation. So what's going to end up happening is Disney's going to hire a bunch of people, to work as temporary workers. That's
Scabs.
what, well, yeah. And some people call them scabs and whatnot. It's probably the improper term, obviously, but they hire people to cross the picket line to work as a temporary worker until the contract is ratified. And what's going to happen is Disney's going to work with them. And typically what I found when it comes to these labor relation agreements, the company will put so much out on the table, ask for, more. Company will come back and say, no, we're not going to do that. We'll do this instead. And it gets to the point where the company says, look, this is our last and final offer. Either you take this or the contract's going to continue to get worse for the employees because, we're trying to work with you and give the whatever we can. And so the employees will, get what they think they wanted. But in the end, sometimes it's less. They end up getting less money, less benefits, less something is taken from the employees or is, not as good as what they thought it was going to be. And the longer they're out, on the picket lines, the more the employees suffer, which is really unfortunate. So I don't know that that's going to happen. I kind of have a feeling that, they may strike. I don't think it's going to take as long for them to kind of come to an agreement on the union contract. The union, unfortunately, caves more than they typically admit to. But that's my experience from the union side from a couple different unions that I've worked with. So, Culture, what do you think?
Well, I mean, you're correct. I mean, your evaluation of everything there is correct. I'm going to say there was a reason Walt did not like unions. He was dead set against them and very anti-communist and anti-socialist, very anti-red. He did not like them. He would have fought tooth and nail to never have them, for obvious reasons. He always felt, come in, we'll have a handshake and a decision. And I do feel like that was always the best way to go. You never get what you deserve. You only get what you negotiate. And that's, again, if people believe they're poor negotiators or they never get what they want, they get into the unions. Now, there are good unions and bad unions. Disney unions have never really got what they need for a very long time. I'm mostly on the employee sides here, but or cast member sides here. But that was when the cast members were of a little higher stature, a little higher quality, people who were invested. And at both Disney World and Disneyland, and last time I was at the Disneyland Resort, I noticed that there was a staggering amount of fall off in what was being offered. Now, there's still great cast members out there. I still always write people's names down, what time it was and where I was, and so I can let people know who's doing a good job. I'm not one to complain unless you just are a complete jerk to like a little kid or something. But now these people are less. They're just less than what. And this is a general statement, not a specific statement. It's just a little bit less. So they're asking for more. They've been underdone for quite some time. Should they be taken care of better? Could Disney stand to take a little less profit at the parks? Well, obviously. I mean, look at what they just did to Tiana's mountain thing, which I know you're going to get into in a minute. But I don't even what you call that thing. It's definitely not a bayou. It's I'm not gonna. I'll stop. But anyway, so as far as this labor issue, I don't think it'll take all that long. Disney doesn't want to rely on replacement workers, and the capacity of the parks will be greatly reduced. I mean, there's a lot of different departments here that are interconnected, as the article described. But I don't think it's going to take as long as people think. And not only that, they're going to have a mouthpiece out there who I just now despise, despite her last name being Disney. She's going to be out there rattling everybody's cages and everything else. So and good on her for that.
That's Abigail.
But she's not a very thoughtful person. Anyway, all that being said, I would say 2 weeks. I would say 2 weeks if it gets to the point where they're striking. I'd say it'll probably be about 2 weeks because they can't afford to go much longer than that. So I'll be quiet.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, Culture. I always love your input. And somebody's input that I also love, especially in the context of Disney cast members and working at Disney and what do you want to say? Having experience in that arena. Let's say, it's Ron. Bradley's fun. What's going on here, Ron? How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry about keeping you in the back there, but I definitely wanted to hear the panel's thoughts, and now we can hear yours.
Congratulations on 2K, first of all, when I'm coming in, and that's it's fast growth, and that is always what we want to see, because I think that that Park Place network has incredibly important message to get out. And I value it from a guest perspective. If all a guest ever has to watch is pixie dusters, they'll go to the parks and they'll expect what they saw in those pixie dust videos. And when they don't get that, that sets an expectation that is not met. That's never really, really good. I was thinking about this earlier today. Under promise, over deliver. And right now, Disney is so over promising and so under delivering. It's exactly the opposite of the way you should do a business. This whole cast member thing, striking. I was part of a union at Disney. I can tell you this: they didn't do diddly squat for me. So I wish I had a different thing to report, but I don't. It's just it is what it is. That is the situation that I was in. I've had other cast member friends of mine who the union actually did work for, and that's great. It's just that they did not work for me, unfortunately. However, they have the right under the contracts that they have to do what they're doing right now. If it affects Disneyland, it is what it is. I just think that Disney needs to take better care of their cast, because if they do, maybe they'll have better quality cast members. I will say this. I was working for Walt Disney World I want to say that it was the fall of 2021. And at that point in time, if you had, for example, body tattoos, you had to cover them with sleeves. You couldn't expose any of that stuff. Your hair had to be cut a certain way if you were a man. Your hair had to be cut a certain way if you're a woman. They had a standard that I would call the ideal look, right? So you walk into a Disney park, you're a guest, you're coming away from the world, and you're presented with Fantasyland, right? It's supposed to be the world's ideal, not the world you live in. You're supposed to have left that behind, but you're supposed to come to Disney. And this is why they call it on stage, right? You're a cast member. Everything is a play. In a sense, fake, but fake in a good way. It's supposed to create that fantasy, that feeling of greatness for the guest. That standard was dropped while I was working. I was next to a coworker who was really, really happy about that. And I was on the other side of it. So I stayed quiet because I had a job to do and I didn't want to get let go from that job if I would have, expressed my feelings at the time. But what the repercussion from that I don't think Disney understood when they changed the Disney look and you could basically express yourself how you wanted to. And I'm not talking about religious expression. That's a whole different thing. I'm just talking about general expression. When they lowered that standard, it also lowered the standard of the people that were willing to come in and work for Disney. And
right.
You're getting your average McDonald's worker coming into Disney and being hired, and everybody's a DEI hire these days. And everybody's seen the picture, right, of the lady fumbling her firearm at the okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cast members, same type of hirees. They're fumbling everything they're doing at the job. Like Culture said, there are fantastic cast members still working there. I do the exact same thing. I give cast compliments when they are deserved. It's just I go to the parks now and I see a lot less of it than I used to back in 2015 to 2019. Oh my gosh, those were great days. I miss those days.
We all miss those days.
But I think Ron's on the right track here, because when I was a cast member, and I was a cast member at the end of the 1980s to early 1990s, and that's how, thank you, Culture. And so when I was a cast member, Ron's exactly right. There was a strict, there were no, no beards, and there were no tattoos to show, and you couldn't color your hair and all that stuff. And while I did think it was a little extreme, most employees didn't have an issue with it unless the supervisor came by and, kind of critiqued you a little bit, which you hope that never happened. But it seems like what Ron said, as soon as they kind of went a little relaxed, that's when I started noticing a lot of changes in the parks. And I didn't like it because I felt like the employees became a little more entitled. It was like, well, I can do what I want and show what I want, and I can say what I want. And of course, I know, cast members, we all have our little lingo that we would use, because sometimes saying have a magical day did not mean that. But the thing is that, I felt like there was a lot more respect between the cast members and the guests. And I don't feel like there's as much. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of amazing employees at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. In fact, to be honest with you, I create some sticker that says cast member extraordinaire. So every time I encounter a really good cast member, I give them the sticker, and it has a castle and my logo on it. It's kind of cool, but I want them to know that, hey, I really appreciate what they did for us, and they were an amazing cast member, and I'll go do a cast compliment. And I tell my, my viewers, to go give them cast compliments, when they're really, really good like that. But unfortunately, I still encounter those every once in a while where it's like, this is not what Walt would have wanted, and this is not what I expect of Disney employees, because I used to be a cast member.
Yeah, I think when you have been a cast member, it's a very different point of view, because
Right.
you went through traditions. I'm assuming the old school traditions. My understanding is that has changed. Somebody texted me the other day. They said, no, it's not the same. It's like a 2-hour course now, and it used to be very much of an all-day thing, sometimes a 2-day thing, but it's what he was talking about. They would come by, and I had this happen to me on numbers of occasions where They actually used to have the Disney Look department. And
Oh, yeah.
they would come by and they would say, okay, you need to straighten this out here. This button has to be done.
Tuck in your shirt.
Right,
Whatever.
tuck in your shirt. I had a supervisor tell me once, you're a little too dark up here. Can you go in the back and shave? I mean,
Whoa.
I'm serious. It was now, gentlemen, guys can have their fingernails painted black.
Oh yeah. I've seen it.
It's just not the feeling of leaving the world behind anymore.
Well, and it ruins immersion. We were just talking about immersion with an attraction. Now you're ruining immersion because you're not in that time period. You're not in that fantasy. You're not in Star Wars. You don't represent whatever it is you're supposed to in the given land that you're assigned to. One of the wonders of Disney World is, at least for the Magic Kingdom, was the utilidors. And while they're not as extensive as people think, and any of that, what they were was a way to keep characters out of and cast members out of places they shouldn't be, so they wouldn't break immersion. And to whatever extent those are still used. By the way, I still see people from Tomorrowland walking down Main Street, but that is fine, I guess. But they shouldn't be. And like you said, in a lot of different places, they have slacked off, and it's not good. And it's not getting
good.
better. Yeah. Anyway, I hate to do this because I know you have someone coming in. I'm going out because I have to get ready for a wonderful show coming up in about 45 minutes. So I want to say thank you, gentlemen, all. I appreciate your company and your kind words. Throw all of those at this guy because he's doing a great job over here. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.
And
so
check
very
out
much.
that game place.
Check out.
That's
that
right.
game
That's
place.
right.
All right,
Culture.
we'll
Thank you
see
so much for joining us. Thank you. We will see you Thursday.
Good.
See you, Culture.
Thank you. Let's see here. Need the goodbye Gandalf meme right there. Before we we invite our guests on, I just want to go ahead and finish off this story real fast. Mice Chat's article, it says the results of the strike authorization vote are expected to be announced by July 20th, 2024. But if Disney doesn't settle quickly, plans surrounding the upcoming D23 day at Disneyland on August 8th, coinciding with the D23 Ultimate Fan event or the D23 Expo on August 9th, 10th, and 11th, could be messy as cast are very likely to authorize a strike. Well, a worker strike would be difficult for park management. We've heard rumors they are planning to fill as many empty positions at Disneyland as possible with workers from California Adventure, since their contract isn't up for negotiation until September. That's a very interesting, update to this as well. Maybe that's why 400 people will be protesting outside of Disneyland tomorrow. Jonas, what is going on, good sir? Thank you so much for joining us for not only this story, but for the show. 2K subscribers couldn't have done it without you, good sir.
Well, I just wanted to say, of course, congratulations on the 2,000 subscribers. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm glad that people are picking up what you're throwing down here. The cast member situation is fascinating to me because Disney is not doing a good job of quieting this noise, either publicly or with the cast members right now. Bob Iger famously screwed up the actors strike and extended that out for the entire industry because he inflamed a bunch of people who are ready to be inflamed. Anyway, speaking of Dormammu and the dark dimension over there, this is one that I'm waiting with bated breath to find out what happens over the next few days here to see if somehow they can pull their selves out of the fire. That was the tweet I thought would be coming up here. 400 cast members in costume will rally Wednesday. That's tomorrow. So
Yes.
That's going to be an interesting look, and I don't know what they mean by in costume either. I'm hoping. Well, I think that it doesn't matter. I think you're fired if you show up in the wrong kind of costume here. If you're a friend of a character here, I'm hoping this is just the the Main Street costume or the confectionery costume, not Goofy walking down the street with a protest sign. That is the image that I don't think will ever go away. If that somehow manages to happen on the street.
400 beloved Disney characters, all with picket signs.
Oh no!
Oh.
Oh, Warren. we're in trouble now. The iconography, I mean, it lives on. People remember the iconography of the Disneyland Paris cast members protesting in the park. Their laws are a little bit different. You can't do that in America, that's for sure. But the imagery coming out of Disneyland Paris around that time, it really made headway worldwide. So these things get a lot of traction. They get a lot of coverage from local media and so forth. And this is why a journalist from the New York Times is even covering this, because it is an important story. Jonas, I do hope no characters are in costume outside. Likely because Disneyland Resort cast members are allowed. They actually take their own cast costumes home with them, which was a policy implemented, I want to say, probably the mid 2000s, which was weird. But because of that, now they have access to actual costumes.
Can I say something on Paris?
Used in the park. Go ahead.
So, it's interesting because, like the whole like union thing can be a bit of a touchy topic. Some of them work, some of them don't. And you see like what's going on with the Paris situation, it looks like, with them having those flags and stuff like that, to the common man who doesn't know what's going on, you might think, oh, this is a part of like a normal Disney parade or something like that. Yeah. It kind of shows the double-edged sword of Disney because, they've been very, very prominent holding flags for certain kinds of, agendas and such they like. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but when you start incorporating real-world issues into a fantasy land, if this was a park where you wouldn't see like nothing, that includes like maybe even stuff fitting to stuff that would be on the other side of the spectrum. When you have just a neutral ground where there's literally nothing from the outside world comes in unless you are literally a guest of that park. When you start doing like, hey guys, we're celebrating this push this month, then it starts being like, well, hey, why can't we bring in like a Union flags or something like that and put Mickey Mouse holding that? It murks the water as opposed to kind of like with at Christmas time where it's like, it doesn't matter what your background is. This is about Christmas. Let's celebrate it. They've completely eradicated this whole neutral ground possibility. And now it's like, well, how's come they can't talk about these sort of things because you were okay with them talking about these kinds of agendas? It's murky.
It is. It'll be interesting. I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. So it doesn't say what time they're going to be there, but maybe it's morning, maybe it's afternoon, but I'll definitely be trying to scope out and see what's going on.
Bring your camera, man. Bring your camera.
Well, I'm doing a live stream, so the camera will be with me and I'll be capturing everything live. And I always have two phones with me, so I'm sure I'll capture some other footage and I'm sure I'll be giving it to that park place as well. So
speaking of flags, people might remember when this happened at Disneyland.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow. I
some
forgot
people,
about that one.
they get things through, and
this is why you keep politics out of the theme parks.
I agree. But as we, like you said, Nolan, as we introduce things like pride events and so forth, and we start to removing patriotic decor, and we do all these things in order to boost all these causes. The line between fantasy and reality really gets blurred in a bad way, I would say, and people feel inappropriate to bring in things that maybe don't belong in a fantastical theme park that is, what do you want to say, transportative in nature. Or at least it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be escapist entertainment. And yet, it seems like we can't escape from certain things, which is very unfortunate. We have a bunch of super chats because, oh my goodness gracious, people have been unbelievably generous. Let's go ahead and do a few of those. Like I said, Jonas, I know you're very busy on your schedule. If you have to leave at any time, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me be here. I'm supposed to be shooting more footage for that park place, and congratulations, Vash. I'm looking forward to everything going up, and away here on T3PO. You're doing an awesome job. Catch you soon.
Thank you. We'll catch you soon, Jonas. I am sure.
Hey, Jonas.
Probably have a recording session with him tomorrow, actually. so we'll be seeing him.
You see him all the time.
Exactly. gotta get back at it. Thanks, Jonas. Thank you. There we go. B Marty with 20 super chat. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Congratulations. Are you going to America Heartland Theme Park in Oklahoma when it opens? I would be down to go to
I'm
America
down.
Heartland Theme Park. Right? Yeah, Bob. We'll get the whole gang together. I know Culture's
That'd be
out
awesome.
here somewhere in the West or something like that. We'll get him going and we'll just go up together. We'll make it the whole day of it. We'll get Marty. We'll get Theme Park Casual.
Words theme
but-
park and open together. The answer should always be yes.
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 Exactly. Now we do have another question on this, which is very interesting. If it in fact opens, and here's the thing, I've heard a lot of blue sky theme parks over the years, so we have to get to that point where we can get the earth movers in and we're getting construction up. If it opens with the backing of not only investors but previous Imagineers and so forth, I would love to see what they are capable of and what they have in store for us. People will note that Disney actually attempted to build their own America themed theme park back in Virginia. That didn't go well.
What's this blue sky coaster? Is that the one that's in Disneyland, Virginia? Like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy. B Marty, thank you incredibly, very much. That is awesome. Thank you. Juliet with the €2, I want to say. Congrats on 2K. Next up, 100,000K. I know, right? Yes, we got to get there.
We're coming.
I am in it to win it. That is fantastic. I cannot wait. But hey, I am happy with the amount of support that we have received thus far. I mean, to get to 2K at all just seemed. I tell you, folks, a year ago, it didn't seem at all possible, and a lot of stuff changes in a year. Bob, you know exactly what I'm talking about right there. Cliff Flicks with $10. Love your channel. Well, you know what?
Love that
We at
avatar.
Park Place, we love your channel. That's the thing. You're always producing great content, so thank you. Do you believe that American Heartland has enough financial backing and will really open as they say it will, or is it all just blue sky dreaming thoughts? Yeah, you see, that's the thing. There's a reason why a new proprietor hasn't opened a theme park domestically. I want to say the theme park boom really occurred in the United States in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it really, we haven't really seen much from anybody else other than, like now Six Flags, Cedar Point and Six Flags merging, Six Flags Entertainment, United, which owns SeaWorld, Busch Gardens. We've obviously seen some theme parks be made by Disney, Disney California Adventure in 2001, Disney's Animal Kingdom in 1988, Hollywood Studios in 1989, that time Disney's MGM Studios. We've had Universal Parks, obviously the Universal Orlando Resort, 1990, and then 1999 Onslaught Adventure. We've seen some stuff there, right?
Yeah.
But we've not really seen anybody else get into the game for a very long time. Maybe.
Could you
50 years or
imagine
so.
Bob Iger without any Disney ties creating his own theme park? The current team.
No, he's not even good with the ones he has.
Yeah, the only thing I want to see though is American Heartland theme park. They really haven't broken ground on that thing, so they're gonna have to hurry up because they're planning on fall of 2026, and that is but 2.5 years from now or so, a little less than 2.5 years. So that's still plenty of time for them to start building it, but that's gonna be a pretty big park. I mean, if you've seen the gallery or you've seen the videos of what they're planning on doing, there's a lot to that park. So I'm hoping that they do make it and that does come to fruition. I think it'd be awesome. It's kind of weird out in the middle of nowhere, but then again, I think they're thinking of the whole Walt Disney World thing where, hey, let's buy plenty of land and have plenty of room for growth. But it is kind of out in the boondocks there of Oklahoma.
Yes, we'll have to see just what this all entails. It is out in the boondocks. Sometimes that could be very helpful. Sometimes it could be a hindrance. We'll have to see. And tornado country out there as well. So
Yeah, it's Tornado Alley. The insurance alone on that place could be not a really good thing. And I do personally know the financer, so all I can Yeah, it's the guy's name is Gene Bicknell. Gene Bicknell and I were in a show together in Branson, Missouri, in which he played my father and I played his son. What I this was 20 years ago, so I don't know how much things have changed in his life. I know he's significantly older, but he dreams big. That's what I can tell you. He dreams really, really big, and he does. Let's just say borrow a lot of ideas from Disney. In the show that I was in, there was a lot that was borrowed from both Country Bears and from the American Pavilion show. So that's all I can tell you.
Well, there you go. There you go. Just getting some stuff done right there. Thank you, Eclipix, for that. And KMG, which, by the way, we're going to be celebrating KMG again in just a moment, folks.
Yeah.
Believe me. But imagine how much more efficient the standby lines for Disney's e-ticket attractions would be if they all had single rider queues, and the cost of Lightning Lane was increased to rates similar to Express Pass. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. The thing that I don't like about Lightning Lane the most probably is its low price point, because it's at such an accessible price point, and because they sell so many of them. You know, what's the quote from Incredibles? If everybody's special, nobody is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and look, I hate that we're even in the world where we're, having to charge for services like that when we just came from a world in which those services were included with the purchase of your ticket via FastPass Plus or FastPass. The fact that we are charging for this, it stinks. Don't like it. But obviously, as corporations are looking to make as much revenue as possible from their theme parks, they implement products like this. So it's a unfortunate reality of the situation. However, the way that Lightning Lane, multi Lightning Lane or single Lightning Lane is implemented right now is not good for anybody, quite frankly, and it's sad.
The only thing I think in obviously, kiss my grits. I love your comment there, but because I've purchased a lot of different express lane passes or fast lane passes or whatnot from Knott's Berry Farm, Universal, Disneyland, in Paris as well as here in Walt Disney World. I've noticed that it really doesn't make the line that more efficient when you have it. Obviously, it helps having a single rider queue. But when the cost goes up for those express passes, the lines are still long. So I don't think it really helps the standby lines a whole heck of a lot. It just definitely makes it easier for you as a person getting through those lines, though. So I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings on that because I've purchased so many over the past several years.
You have. You have, and Bob's done it all, folks. I mean, he has really he
don't give anything away there, okay?
What I'm saying though is that you have experience in this arena, a lot of experience in this arena. You know how these things work, and sometimes they're implemented well, sometimes they're not. It's not all sunshine and rainbows everywhere else, other than the Mouse House, that's for sure. Let's see right here. Hawaii Dragon Star, I believe, is what Jonas told me right here. So thank you so much for your $5. Very much appreciated. Walt would have prevented the strike by paying a cast member a good wage. My belief, he must be spinning with what is going on. It's interesting. The cast member pay commensurate with or compared to, juxtaposed against the cost of living, was higher, I would say, in Walt Disney than it is now. So at least that's what I've heard. I have to actually do an analysis on just how much cast members were paid back in the day. Hey, Bob, maybe you know this because you were a cast member back in the 1980s. Was it a better wage commensurate with what was going on in the world at that time, or was it still a struggle?
Well, so back then, we were union employees as well. So we had a contract, and I didn't think the contract was that great. But I will tell you from my experience being in the business world on the union side, non-union side, is that typically companies pay more and give better benefits to employees when they're non-union than when they're union. And that's something I think I brought up on last week's show. It's not. I think that they're able to do more. You know, they have to do certain restrictions with the union contract, and they have to abide by union contract. And so the company has a lot more rules and restrictions on them. They have to abide by whatever they agree on for the pay and stuff. And so obviously, and I hate to say this, but companies, when it comes to the unions, because of all the stuff they've got to pay into the union and the employees, they have to pay into the union too. You know, it's very, very expensive, you know, for employees to have to pay into that. But what ends up happening is they get a lower wage, thinking they're getting better benefits when they're really not all the time. And so typically companies will pay more that don't want to become union because they want to treat their employees well, and they want to, you know, pay them at a good salary and wage. And like we were talking about earlier, Walt never wanted the union. It's unfortunate that, you know, Roy let that happen, and that we do have, you know, the union. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against unions. You know, I've worked on both sides. There's some unions that are great. We have some amazing unions. The elevator union is an amazing union, you know. But when it comes to, you know, certain positions and certain jobs, they're not always these. Especially in the state of California, we are an employee-friendly state. They have a lot of rules and regulations in the state of California, and employees are, you know, well taken care of. I understand that's not the same in other, you know, states and other companies, but my feeling is if they were non-union, things would probably be better for the employees in the company.
I have heard the same refrain from people working on the inside, and from people who know how the unions operate, know the leadership, know what they do. It really is something. It's an unfortunate situation, but c'est la vie. I wanted to go ahead and bring this up, not a super chat, but Pamela Epson, I think you all are doing an incredible job at WW Pro, That Park Place, Vash, and the gang. You are all helping people like the TA and Berry Place 28. We follow the people that you stream with. Love you guys. We love you. I think, Bob, you were actually talking about how before the show, actually, how we, you know, through that Park Place community and everybody who actually watches our programming, they've been exposed to you and your content, and they really helped you out recently, especially with some fundraising efforts. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that is true. So I'm very grateful to obviously be on That Park Place, you know, to Pro and Jonas and you and everyone else that's a part of the, you know, Pro team. It's been a lot of fun, obviously, doing this, and I continue to, you know, enjoy it from week to week. But obviously, from doing this, I've gotten a lot of new subscribers and followers from this channel as well. And many of you know that, you know, we try to give back. And so one of the things that we're doing right now is Theme Park Casual, who was on the show last week with us, and myself and Courtney, California, and several of the streamers here on the West Coast, we're actually doing a chalk walk, and it's happening this Sunday. And we are trying to raise money for this chalk walk. Obviously, from my end, we've raised $693 on my channel or my site. But altogether, we've raised over $10,000, and we did it last night. We raised over $2,000 because of wonderful people like you. And I want to call out two people who are actually in the chat today. Tom F. Gave generously yesterday, not only money, but also to donations to give away prizes. And obviously, Izzo's Place, who's in the chat, I can't say thank you enough. He generously gave to not just my channel, but to many of the other channels as well on our podcast last night. And so Chalk Walk, for those of you not familiar with it, it's a Children's Hospital of Orange County. It's really to raise money for this wonderful organization to help out children and their families. And there's a quick 55-second video that Vash has that we're going to play it for you guys real quick so you can see what it's about and why it's so important.
Absolutely. Let's go.
I'm walking in memory of my grandson, Kat. Chuck really helped us out there. The nurses were great, the doctors were great, and we wanted to honor his name and honor those doctors and nurses.
Fighting for cancer. She has brain cancer, and we're walking to hope to find a cure.
We're helping support all the children that need it. I think without us, it would be difficult for the families to get through what they're going through.
We're walking in memory of Joyce and Sue, who was a member of our troop when he was at Chalk. And I think one word that would describe me being here is kids.
We walk for Chalk because we care. We walk for love.
Well, I walk for love.
I walk for support.
We walk for love.
So again, this is going to be this Sunday, and we're obviously trying to raise as much money as we can. And so the park streamers, are trying to do what we can as streamers to give back to the community. And I think this is great. In addition to trying to raise more money, I decided to do something kind of crazy, and I wanted to let all of you guys know what I'm doing and see if you guys would like to join in the fun. But I have actually purchased it's the Doom Buggy Omni Mover Patent that the Imagineer Bob Gurr actually created. That's it right there with his signature on the bottom. And I have an actual autograph copy from Bob Gurr, the Imagineer, and I'm going to be raffling this off. So anyone that goes to my page and donates $50 or more is entered. And if you donate $100, I will enter your name twice into the raffle. But basically, we're trying to raise money for this great cause and organization. And I'm going to be raffling this thing that you're seeing here, this awesome patent with a signature from Bob Gurr on my birthday, which is July 25th. I'm going to be doing a live stream at Disneyland. We're going to do the raffle there at Disneyland and give it away then. So I'm trying to raise money. If you guys would like to have a part of Disney history with an authentic signature from Bob Gurr, the Imagineer, and also help a great cause, please, go to my page. And if you can't donate $50, that's totally fine. Anything helps, but we're trying to raise money for a great cause and to help families out. Also, I'll be live streaming on Sunday. So if you want to catch me there, I'll be with the other park streamers. And this walk takes place in Disneyland and California Adventure. And then after we're done with the walk, I'm going to continue to do a live stream. I might take a little break, but we're going to be streaming pretty much all day long. And me and the other streamers will be together. So I hope you guys will take the time to check out my page. And if you can, give back. If you can't donate, if you could even just share my link, I'd appreciate it. That way people can get the word out about this chalk walk that we're doing. And again, this is for a great cause. So thank you so much for taking the time to check this out. Also, I just want to say thank you. Unfortunately, I need to get going here because I do have to leave, but I will be at Disneyland tomorrow. So if you guys are able to come join me, please come join me. We may be seeing some interesting stuff happening in the afternoon there with some of the cast members, whether or not they're going to strike. You can follow me at BarryPlays28, my channel, at all my social media channels, but also, which Vash just had up there, if you guys want to come check out the park streamers. By the way, I wanted to also let you know, anyone that does donate $25 or more, we're doing a big, huge raffle with all sorts of really cool Disney items, Loungefly backpacks, etc. And you'll be entered into the drawing. We're going to do that drawing for all of the gifts, including the stuff that Tom F. and Izzo have graciously given to us. And we are going to be doing that raffle on July 29th on the Park Streamers Hangout. So with that, I apologize that I have to leave so early, but you guys are amazing. Vash, congratulations on 2,000 subs. This channel is amazing. I'm really, really happy to be a part of it from week to week. And Nolan, Ron, Vash, you guys have a great night. And everyone in the chat, have a great day.
Absolutely. Bob, somebody, Industrious Bear actually says, get interviews. That would be pretty cool. You do?
Bob, that would be cool.
We'll feature them on that park place, that's for sure. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Bob,
Prepared
for
for
joining.
things get crazy. Your channel's gonna blow up overnight. Are you prepared for that?
Yes, that would be great. I'm happy to, I just hit 2,000 myself on my channel.
Congratulations.
It took a lot longer than what it
Congratulations.
took. Thank you. It took a lot longer than what it took for Vash to get to this point. But hey, if you guys haven't checked out my channel, please come check it out. It's always a lot of fun. I always take my daughter along with me when I can, and we have a great time in the park doing live streams and also doing that park that park place. I'm advertising for your channel now, and I need to officially be a part of it for Park Streamers Hangout. You guys have a great day. Thanks again. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Bob. Very much appreciate it.
And my alter ego, come check out my alter ego with me. The Yeti.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Bob. Very much appreciate it. And raise money for a great cause. You've done a tremendous job. And thank you so much to that Park Place Network and the community for helping everybody else. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Later, man.
We've got just a couple more super chats to go through right here, and then we're going to get to our lead story, folks, because you might have heard a little bit about it on WW Pro. I don't know if WW Pro has the information that I have on this story, and I have been given permission to release it by my sources. So stay tuned for that. That is for sure. Daryl, the derelict, for $2. Congratulations on 2K. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your amazing donation, your super chat. I very much appreciate it for sure. And then this gentleman's been I'm assuming gentleman. Hopefully I didn't misgender, but he's been so gracious in the past, donating so many super chats towards our channels. Thank you so much for that. AWM Trends Entertainment TV, $4.99, 4 to 6 p.m. on the 69th anniversary of opening day. 4 to 6 p.m. on the 69th anniversary of opening day.
Is that tomorrow? Is that the opening day for Disneyland?
Yeah. July 17th is going to be the opening day of Disneyland, 4 to 6 p.m. I guess is that when the protest is supposed to take place or occur? Usually, like those things at various what is it? They like it in the afternoon. In order to get the most coverage.
What if at Disney World, the Bears are supposed to open to the public tomorrow? What if the Country Bears walk out?
We stand
in solidarity.
Solidarity.
Big Al's like,
meeting now.
Walking the line.
Oh, that's great. You're right. I didn't even realize it. AWM. It is on July 17th. That is the opening day at 9:55. So that's a big day. But I like your idea, Ron. Get the Bears out there.
We're in solidarity with our cast members at Disneyland.
There's gonna be blood on the saddle. There's blood on the contract. No, I'm joking. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fantastic.
Boy.
Space Dave 2000.
Space Dave.
$2. Thank you so much. I know you're doing some work over there at That Game Place with Nolan. So
and he does an
so
amazing
much.
job. If you want to see more of him, you got to check out That Game Place. The dude is smart.
Cool.
Dude is very, very smart, very, very intelligent. Congrats to 2K. Keep it up. Thank you. You keep it up, sir. And thank you so much. Anything you can donate right now is very, very much appreciated. That is without question. KMG Kiss My Grits with $50. Holy smoke, sir. I did send you a link, by the way, because everything you bring to our channels is just unbelievable. It's so fantastic. It's unbelievably helpful. Thank you so much for everything you do. You had no business donating this much, but hey, you know what? Thank you. I also see Spencer in the chat now that I'm looking here. You know what? I gotta get you a link. Go ahead and get Spencer a link right here. And if he can join us, I would love to have him. It's gonna come to you via Twitter, good sir. Right there. If you're looking for one, right there. Boom. Oh,
we're having That Game Place invasion right now.
I know, right? Well, hey, That Game Place, good. Whoops.
You cut out there, but I assume what Vash
was
saying was that the channel is amazing. You should watch it. That's what he was saying.
Yes. That Game Place is something that you should watch. That wasn't the link either. What is going on? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get to KMG's amazing $50 super chat right here. I hope O'Keefe insiders at Disney leak screenshots of the Slack channels and emails cast members received following this weekend's incident, because I guarantee they weren't as remorseful as the communication between CMs when R versus W was overturned. Yeah, I mean, that is that's a fair point. We don't know the source of the Slack channel information that James O'Keefe has received. I would assume, though, that if that person is still actively working at the company and has access to all this stuff, hey, maybe some of that information could be screenshot and sent over James O'Keefe and saying, hey, this is what they're saying. That is always a possibility. And if that's the case, oh boy, it's about to get a whole lot worse, a whole lot quicker, because, while Bob Iger did have some words stated at the time over the weekend following that event. There was I think we talked about it on that Park Place as well. You can go over there and see our coverage on that. There was a tinge of insincerity there, simply because of the rhetoric coming out of the company, coming out of ABC News, for example, or any of their local affiliates covering political matters. It's there has been a lot of words stated and allegations thrown towards the prior president of the United States that may have, in fact, contributed to people thinking that they are justified in carrying out actions like that, and that is appalling, and it's abhorrent. Bob Iger's done nothing to quell that noise, and yet, well, on the backside, condolences for the people who unfortunately lost their lives. I don't know. It just seems to me like.
To be fair, there's a lot of insincerity coming out when it comes to that. There's a lot of insincerity, hypocrisy, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's funny. Tucker Carlson, and this is not a political statement at all, but one of the things he was asked by a different reporter, he says, do you regret anything that you have said as a media personality in the past? And he goes, oh yeah. And I've apologized for it, and I've apologized for it over and over again. He was mentioning some specific things, and I'm not going to get into that here. But I that's what I appreciate. I appreciate people owning up to the things that they've said in the past that were, if they realize they made a mistake, if they realize they made an error, something inappropriate, something that could have led to damage, and they apologize for it. That goes so much to just to give them favor. That goes so much in the right direction. We all, as human beings, make mistakes, and sometimes we're very sincere in our belief when we're making the mistake and don't realize it. But to come back and say, "Hey, I own that mistake. I really apologize. I take full responsibility for it." It does help. And if anybody really wants to quote unquote quiet the noise, then the first step to quieting noise is making those apologies.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a great point. It's like, okay, well, you are and Bob Iger he came from ABC. He's well versed in the media and news landscape, understands words have meaning, words have power. Could have very easily said, you know what? We haven't necessarily been the greatest arbiters of information dissemination, and we've mixed opinion with that, and that is something we need to get better at. It could have been as easy as that.
That would make him look better too. People would have, from the left and the right, have a lot more respect for him with that, especially because people tend to kind of to not get deep into details or anything. People on the left side of the spectrum have been pretty appalled by certain things, not just the far radical people. And you can earn a lot of respect as a CEO when you're like, hey, that was not okay. This is making our image look bad and such. And for him to not kind of, you're supposed to be able to read the room as a CEO and do what people do to get your backing. They're a public company. That would have been a genius time to jump in, but drop the ball on like they have a lot of things lately.
They've also taken sides that they don't need to be taking. What a company should do when they're trying to entertain everyone, rather than taking any side at all in any discussion where there are sides, is just say, hey, we understand that some people may be offended by this material. We also understand that other people may not be offended by this material. We want to present it out to you, and it's up to you guys to make your choice about how you feel about it. Our job as an entertainment company is to just put it out there and let it be.
Much like how these corporations ask their employees to act. Because, you can't be a cast member and be saying all this radical stuff out into the boom. At least, usually you're not supposed to be able to. You can't be like at McDonald's or an office job or something saying radical in either end of the spectrum. And it shows a lot of hypocrisy when, like, especially the image of the company doesn't follow the same standard. It's not really fair.
Indeed. I mean, it's different standards, different folks, and again, this all is brewing. That has been allowed to fester in the way it has by Bob Iger and everybody else. So, you know, it's I can understand why it might be hard to turn tail now, because you know, obviously the culture might not even allow for that. So
it's a shame how much of this company reflects the political sphere as opposed to the entertainment sphere. Because, you know, we like to look back on, like, say, Disney, like in like the 90s, whatever, you know, when they were doing a lot of like the dance parties, or Pleasure Island, you know, like when they were trying to get hip with it because it reflects like the 80s movement of like young adults, you know, coming from some hard times in the 70s and wanted to really get out there. There was so much new, exciting things. And instead of Disney reflecting what is going on in the entertainment world, it's reflecting what's going on in our political world, which is divisive. And when people are going to be doing documentaries about Disney 20 years from now, it's going to, unfortunately, probably be seen as kind of like when a lot of documentaries, you know, they talk about like when hardships happened, like rough times of the companies, when tragic events happened in our society, whereas instead we should be talking about, hey, remember disco? Wasn't that funny?
It's you know, we seem long removed from the days when
disco
media or news, well, that's true. Media news commentary wouldn't be so opinion filled. But KMG actually does have a couple of more thoughts that I want to go ahead and get to before getting to our last super chat right here. It says right here, that Park Place podcast online. Oh, not that one. This one first. That Park Place podcast online. Huge non-Disney breaking news. Elon Musk just announced that he is moving SpaceX and X's headquarters, that's Twitter, from California to Texas. He is done with Gavin Newsom right here, folks. Breaking news right there. Let's go ahead and let's do, well, for all time's sake.
The most fitting time to use that, because the sound sounds like the Imperial Star Destroyer with Star Wars. So I'm like,
well, that's where it's from. I think it's the Death Star alert, but yeah, it's close enough.
Same thing.
Might as well be. This is the final straw, because of this law and many others have preceded it, attacking both families and companies. SpaceX will now move its HQ from Hawthorne, California to Starbase, Texas. And is in reference to another super chat after that, and then Twitter post, and then XHQ will move to Austin as well. What was he referring to? So the state is the parent in California now. Gavin Newsom. Oh, that's
this.
This is that's a whole other can of worms right there.
So to avoid that can of worms, I will say this is kind of like the human equivalent of like in nature, you know, where animals will migrate to different areas if like predator animals, you know, start coming in. So they're like, well, we're not going to be living good here, so let's go over there. It's almost as if the more people you start putting in your, I don't want to say, the more people you put in your site to cause problems to, it's almost as if they're like, you know what? We don't have to take that. We can go somewhere else. And then you lose profits. It's, I think even a 4-year-old could tell you that.
Well, indeed. It's a very difficult state to conduct business in. And I think Google has announced that they're moving some of their offices out of California, I believe, and
even Google,
all kinds of stuff happening. I believe so. Yeah, wow. I believe I heard that somewhere. Sorry, if I just shared some fake news, I do apologize. But I think I heard that from somewhere. We got a lot of moving parts, folks. That is absolutely for sure. And then KMG with the last message for us here. Brian Roberts had the courage to take Morning Joe off the air yesterday. Yep, sure did. And Bob Iger should have done the same with The View. Should have, but doesn't. Yeah, they pulled Morning Joe. Morning Joe did not actually air yesterday because I believe they know that, Morning Joe leans a certain political direction, and that wasn't what was, I think, in the company's best interest at that time to host that show. Big move, and it's obviously coming from a company who is self-reflective in that way. So very, very interesting, that is for sure. Captain John D with $20. Thank you so much, Captain John D. And because it's Captain John D, well, we got to do the drop. We have to do the drop right here. Let's see if I can even find it. Here we go. Gotta do it.
I think it didn't go through. We're having technical difficulties.
Oh, it didn't go through?
No, try it again.
No, nothing? Wait a minute, that's weird. Wait a minute, hang on. Nothing?
Little bit.
Little bit? Oh, wow, that is really
strange. Tell no time.
There we go. Yeah, there you go. We'll do it live then. I do apologize, guys. That is really weird, huh?
Next time that happens, guys, make sure you bring your captain hats just in case we need them.
Yeah, I guess so, man. That is weird. That's really bizarre.
It's the Long John Silver's ones.
I do apologize. I know the 80s man. You have too much expander gate on your mic. Yeah, working on that. Very technical, but that's weird. That's Usually those are they don't know. They're very good. Well, anyway, we performed it for you. Thank you so much, Captain John D, for everything that you've given towards not only the channel here on T3PO, but also that Park Place News Network and WW Pro and everybody. Congrats on 2K. This channel's awesome and a great result of all the hard work. Onwards and upwards. Thank you so much. And Captain, man, I'll tell you folks right now, if Captain wasn't around, I'll tell you, a year ago, it seemed. It just seemed like for me I was going to walk away from everything, and so it was because of people like Captain, because of people like Jonas.
We love you, Vash.
You, Nolan, very much appreciate it. It was because of people like Bro that were like, you know what, we believe in you. Theme Park Wizard as well. That wanted to or felt that I had something to say and I could contribute in a larger way. Thank you so much.
Don't look at me. I'm just like a fanboy when I see you. So like, come on. No, I'm serious. Like I told Pro the first time I was on, this is like crazy. I'm fanboying and it's very, very cool. I always feel nothing but honored to come on any of these shows. And gosh, what do I contribute? I don't know, but hopefully something. You guys are the bomb.
Thank you.
You're cooler than me, man. You did the captain voice. That was amazing.
I just want to do the voice sometime where I can go, today will be the day that you always remember is the day that you almost got away with Dookie in my bed. You better clean that up, Amber.
That is fantastic. We have more chats, but we'll get to them in just a moment. I really want to talk about this story right here. This is the one you've all been waiting for, folks. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring it up. Where is my links right here? Sorry, it's when you have like, I don't know how many links I have, like 150 links. It just gets lost. Gets lost in the tabs up there. But this is from Caroline Reed. The cost of converting Disney's Splash Mountain. This is a huge story that everybody's been going. I
talked about it this morning too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I have some news for you folks that I think you'll enjoy because man, oh man. Well, let's just get into it here. A few of Disney's theme park rides have been more controversial than Splash Mountain. The update to it could also be the most costly, despite being a basic log flume. So it's very interesting. She talks about the history of log flume attractions. Splash Mountain first opened in Disneyland in 1989 and quickly became a fan favorite. Until then, log flumes had typically been simple structures that looked like scaffolding. On one side, a steel structure supporting a water channel, which the boat climbed up, and when it reached the top, it plummeted down a channel on the other side. Splash Mountain changed the game as it had a network of water channels which were set inside a soaring cartoony tree stump, known in the theme park industry as a weenie because it could be seen from afar.
It's just a term. It's just a term.
It's just a term. Well, that's what they call it. No, let's laugh. The tree
how are
stump.
we going to be Universal Studios? Weenie Hut General. That's how we're doing it.
Well, the tree stump was that kind of, they call it a weenie, but it's that thing that draws you in, right? That thing that you can see from afar and go, ooh, that looks cool. And as you get closer, you see the logs, falling, 50 feet into this amazing plunge with this great splash. By the way, they got rid of Ron, did you notice this? When the logs drop now in Tiana's Spy Adventure, they don't have the cannons that do the splash.
No, the cannons are gone. That's actually, I think I have those cannons on Splash Mountain in my intro, my channel intro. They don't have, it's not as big of a splash either. That's when the water on the drop is actually working, which is not often. But yeah, you don't. I have only ridden this ride in the back seats, the seat 3 or seat 4, and I have not gotten wet other than the sweat from humidity of the Florida sunshine. But it's not like it is actually, even the ride itself. It's literally the same ride, except it's somehow lesser of a ride. If I closed my eyes, if I put the Splash Mountain soundtrack on while I rode it and just kind of imagine going through, it would still be less of a ride. And that's like during the 50% of the time that it's actually working. It's a complete mess. The Splash Mountain wasn't controversial, by the way. The changeover is controversial. But Splash Mountain itself, there was literally never controversy about Splash Mountain ever until Disney came out and said they were changing it, and they made it controversial, which was one of the biggest points I was making on my show today. It's like, it was, as a matter of fact, it was the opposite of controversial. It was like the most beloved ride in all of the parks. And one of the things that I saw in this article, and you'll probably get to it, is that when Splash was created, it was already using the characters, the Briar Patch characters. It was already nostalgic, right? So because they created a nostalgic ride, they created an evergreen ride. In other words,
a timeless ride.
Right. You never had to change this because it was already a throwback to something that happened years ago. And the stories of the Briar Patch were always about lessons about how to live a better life. And so sorry, I'll get way too frustrated when I talk about it.
No, I think you should. I think we all should be very, very frustrated because this did not need to happen at all, folks.
Never did.
This attraction never needed to go down at all. It literally, it was like people have been saying, reply by mail, manufactured outrage. That's of course what it was. Manufactured outrage. There was nobody asking legitimately to take this ride down and retheme it. No. This just, this was a subsection of essentially said, you know what? This is something that we need to be outraged today about. And they took this thing down, and now the company's expense that they had to incur to even do this, which we'll get right to in a moment, folks.
Oh boy.
It's just unbelievably costly. And for what? It didn't increase capacity. May have actually reduced it because this thing is down, what 26%? Or whatever it is nowadays. Nolan, go ahead.
I'll tell you what it's about. Like, it's hilarious, this ride, because literally Ron made a perfect point there where they took a ride that wasn't divisive and they made something that was divisive. But you know what the most pathetic thing about this ride is? This thing is literally the symbol of its corporate decision. Like, it's there to be a puff piece for Bob Iger. That's literally what this is, to get some sway to look how progressive he is. But the most pathetic thing about it is it can't even achieve that symbol status. They literally built, or really rethemed, but they literally have a mountain that's literally about a symbol of progressive change of something that apparently was a problem. but yet it is such a laughing stock. It is forgettable. Like, it's not even that it's like so astronomically bad where everybody remembers it. It's just pathetic. And it can't even achieve the whole thing of being the symbol of everything that's a part of like new age Disney, or however you want to frame that. Instead, people are going more for the censorship on Disney Plus or the stuff that was added into the movie. In fact, I think the common person would get more upset about some of the stuff that was in like Lightyear or Dory or whatever have you, not taking any stances on that. But this should literally be the symbol of everything in Bob Iger's philosophy. And what it is, it's literally a forgettable ride that if this was made from the ground up, it would probably be, most theme parks, a ride that would be gone in like 10 years because of the crowds it's getting. It can't even be, a mountain is supposed to be a symbol of a lot of things, and this thing is more like a ditch.
It makes me want to change over the song to everybody come see our laughing stock. The laughing stock. It's a laughing stock.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. And let's go ahead. We have we're short on time, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and get right to the meat of the article right here and get to this exclusive story that we have here. Right. At the very end, by the way, shout out to Lorena Creole of That Park Place right here. A little bit of a link Marvin. There. And Marvin's article right there. Forbes is linking articles to
yes, very cool.
Isn't that cool? That's great.
Yeah, I know. That Park Place mentioned by Forbes. It's awesome.
Absolutely, 100%. Right here. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize this a little bit for you, and then we'll get right there in the paragraph that really kind of hits it home. Because of some of the financial disclosures that have come out of the Paris park from Imagineers who have actually put the amounts of their projects attached that they've been attached to on LinkedIn, which is bizarre. There is an association there with the French government, so technically some things they have to disclose to the public when they do projects and so forth. At least that was the case before. Disney bought, I think, a 92% share into that resort. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that they, because of the numbers that we know from Paris, for similar projects, similar overhauls, in this case, Star Tours, which might sound strange, but you have to think that, Industrial Light and Magic actually conducted the work done for that attraction, specifically the visual imagery that you see on the screens there. Again, they had to do multiple iterations in order to create the 250 plus variations of that show that you see on that attraction. She is taking those numbers and giving us an estimate for how much this was worth. The manpower required to develop and install the new decor and animatronic components for lack of CGI, combined with 7 years of inflation, it should put the upgrade budgets for both attractions, that's Star Tours and Star Tours The Adventures Continue, and Tiana's by Adventure, at approximately a similar level. And according to Gerardius, that came to $71 million, or 65 million euros, as can be seen here. It would put the total spent on Tiana's by Adventure over the past 4 years at $142 million, making it back take a lot longer than that. Of course, when you factor in the revenue potential from foods and merchandise, I don't think this is necessarily moving the needle in a big way there, particularly on the merchandise side of things, as we have we have sources within the Walt Disney Company telling us that food is not doing very well, and merch certainly isn't doing very well.
I'm guessing too that $142 million is not for both attractions; it's just for the one.
Oh yeah. No, that's what she's saying. So she's saying that based on Star Tours back in the day at $71 million, right? With inflation, construction costs, new animatronics, this is a much more ambitious attraction than Star Tours is. Given its size and scale, that's where she's coming up with the $142 million valuation. Folks, I'm here to tell you from sources that I've been talking to, and folks, if you're watching this channel, you know the source that I am referring to. This guy's got amazing contacts. Been in communication with it. I'm hearing, even before this article was even posted, Okay, this was I believe 3 weeks ago. I was in contact with this individual. Apparently, from what they've heard from their sources, this is a $200 million attraction. Again, this was given to me weeks before this article was published. $200 million on this attraction, which means the company has now collectively spent $400 million on this because it's on both coasts.
Yeah.
This is how much money has been invested into this particular attraction. So we know from those kinds of ranges, we're looking at least probably $150 million, $180 million. Like I said, $200 million at the high end that what I've heard. And again, this source is
it's my understanding also that they're taking some of that, like the money that they say they have the 17 billion or whatever allocated. Actually, this money that's being spent on that is actually part of that as well. So that takes that amount of money down for what they can put into the parks later.
And another thing is, if Bob gets his ideal world, think about it, they're going to want to put this in Japan. So that would be collectively $600,000 for something that's going to, they've spent $600 for a vacuum that's going to drain them money. That is insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's legitimately a worse subpar product than what was there before. This is why Tokyo has been like, yeah, we ain't doing this. We ain't doing this. They saw the concept artwork way before we ever saw it. I'm sure they pitched OLC years ago on whatever they had. And with everything that they had at the time, they were like, no, thank you.
Nope.
You keep your Splash Mountain redo Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Really,
I think it's going to cost millions more just to get it working right, at least at the Magic Kingdom. I don't know. My understanding is it's been delayed at in Disneyland because they do want it to operate correctly. It's a slightly different operating system at Disneyland than it is at Disney World.
Right.
But it's really weird. You talked about the weenie earlier, and look at how beautiful that picture is that you have up. That was so iconic. When you would look at it from a distance, it was iconic. Now, when you come into the Magic Kingdom, and I've done this numerous times and numerous vlogs, and you're in before you get to Frontierland, you used to be able to look over and see this and see Big Thunder, and it was such beautiful. You have the iconic mountains, right? You have Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain. The three mountains, people always talked about that. They have, first of all, they've taken that away because you don't have it. Second of all, you don't notice anything because it blends in with all the foliage that's already there. Yeah. So there's really nothing. There's no weenie anymore. But if there was a weenie, it's the backside of Tafiti dropping logs. That is not
terrible.
It really is. And I have experienced it in person, and I will say this: the good part of what people are experiencing about it is something with Tiana. Okay, if you're inside and you isolate the scenes, okay. And when you think about how this would play out, had they built a brand new ride for Princess Tiana, and it was maybe a slow, dark ride, and I always think about this. Boy, what a missed opportunity. Could have been like Blue Bayou, the restaurant that goes that Pirates. The Pirates goes by in Disneyland, right? And you have the Blue Bayou restaurant. Such synergy there. If they would have done that with Tiana and taken a lot of the same elements, the animatronics and scenes, put them in a brand new ride, but then there's a part of it that flows by the Tiana's Palace and built the actual restaurant, and you smell the beignets and all the good things cooking as you're on the ride. What a synergy that would have created. How come nobody in Imagineering stepped back and thought of that and said, you know what, we could actually do something so much better? And I mean, if they wanted to retheme Splash, put, I don't know, Pocahontas there, put something else that worked, something that works with Frontierland. I think there was a westward adventure ride that was always conceptual but never made.
Western River Expedition, that's correct.
So Western River Expedition. So many different opportunities, and they're wasted, and I think they're wasted because they're not thinking creatively. They're thinking of, we got to check some boxes, you know.
It's all about a
But-
statement. It's not about the experience.
That's why we're here. That's why Dr. Priscilla isn't featured in the attraction, for example. That's why we didn't get a story covering Tiana's story that we know from the film, and we got a next chapter story because, wow, she's a frog mostly in that film. We can't have our Black Princess represented like that. Here's something that I wanted to share last week. I don't believe I did, so I'm sharing it again this week. This is from Mice Chat's prior update, not this week's, but last week's. It says right here, kind of embedded in the middle of the article right here. Unfortunately, one thing the Imagineers were not able to address before the opening is the giant story hole in the scene before the big lift and drop, which is causing the bulk of the negative reviews at the Magic Kingdom version. Whether that's due to no creative consensus on what to do or enough time to do it, Disneyland's Bayou Adventure is set to experience this same fan reaction. Nearly every current and former Imagineer that we've spoken to who wasn't involved with this project has expressed some level of frustration, concern, or anger over the Bayou Adventure project. And you can probably guess who they're talking about right there. And Mice Chat's in constant communication with them, let's put it that way. And the group thinks that what allowed Disney to ignore guest entertainment in favor of a desire to push a story that has nothing to do with the movie it was based upon. We're confident the issues will be corrected in time, but don't expect it to be anytime soon. After all, we're still waiting for fixes to Tomorrowland and Galaxy's Edge. Isn't that so accurate? This is what happens when creativity takes a back seat for agenda, essentially.
Yes,
and that's
Yeah.
that's what
That's
it's
the
all
issue.
about. And look,
How
they
many
were told.
cartoons-
I can. Oh, go ahead, Nolan.
Thank you. How many cartoons did everybody grow up with in like the 90s, early 2000s, heck, any era where you have this really great little like experience, whatever have you, whether it's a building, a theme park, whatever. Then you got evil millionaire dude with the mustache, comes in and buys it up, makes it look like a foundry or a factory or something like that. Villain gets his comeuppance by the end of the movie. I don't know, Bob Iger ends up on like Tiana's and falls in the water or something like that. I don't know, whatever have you. And like something crazy happens. It's like we're literally living in a plot line of a movie. Does nobody ever pay attention to, you have to have, I know it's a versatile word, but just put soul into these projects, because just checking boxes doesn't equal sales. And I say what you want about Michael Eisner. He did a lot of screw ups. But at the end of the day, though, he still could identify, like, go back to when they were doing Alien Encounter. Am I saying the name right? Am I getting the name right?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, literally, he had to have people pulling him back. That's like, dude, this is crazy. Don't do it like this. But he had a passion for it. When you put someone who just doesn't have the passion for some sort of creativity, the Imagineers can't reflect off of them and be the best they can be. And I think that's just, when you have a company built on creativity, the philosophy just can't work when you go through with a corporate mindset like that.
Yeah, and the other thing about this, like this, it doesn't look cheap. It's they put a lot of effort into putting a square peg into a round hole, which is what the biggest frustration to me is. Absolutely, you have an audience of people that enjoy the attraction, like the attraction. I want so much to be able to thoroughly 100% enjoy the attraction. And the reason I have issues with enjoying the attraction is because I'm on this thing that this ride doesn't fit what I'm looking at around me. Okay. It's just, I'm on a log flume ride. I'm going by the scenes too fast. The scenes, some of them are really nice. I kind of want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy a slow ride down the Louisiana Bayou with some fun songs playing and all that, and see Tiana. And they could have had probably a much better story. You could have, it's so weird. Like, especially that one part that they built in for kids, right? You go down into what I call the Rainforest Cafe. You shrink down, you see all the little Rainforest Cafe frogs there, and you see Tiana's big thing. Okay, you put this in for kids, and I get that. You're only in it for like a minute and a half before you go up the lift hill. But I'm like, as cute as that is, it makes no sense to the story, and it's put in for the age of kids that are not able to meet the height requirement to ride this ride. If this would have been on a ride more like the Grand Fiesta Tour or Small World or something like that, where it's a slow dark ride, that would have worked out so much better. And then, use Splash for something else, or even I almost hate to say this, but they almost would have been better off to actually demolish the Splash Mountain infrastructure completely to put in a better Tiana's Bayou Adventure than what is there. And that would be very sad, but to get rid of the infrastructure, but clearly it's not working. I mean, physically, it doesn't work as much as you want it to. My wife comments, I want a romantic ride. Yes, baby, I want the tunnel of love.
I know, right? Exactly.
It's like, it's like you need to haul a bunch of like giant wood panels to build something for like a house project, and you're like, well, I don't have a truck. Well, if I paint my Corvette from red to blue, maybe I can pretend it can haul over there. And like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't appease anybody.
So there were, like the article mentions, there were people who came up to the crew and said, look, listen, guys, I don't necessarily think this is the way to go. Nobody wants to see, the quote was, nobody wants to see an Indiana Jones Tiana. I mean, that's what it was. And when they forwarded their critiques, let's say, and they were constructive criticisms, they were told by the team, you're not the target demo. That's what they told Legendary Imagineers attempting to provide their insight to make the best attraction possible. That's what they were told, guys.
They don't even know their target demo.
Exactly.
It's like if you took because like they took a thrill ride that was supposed to be aimed at teenagers in the 90s and made it into something for smaller kids and people who agree with certain things on X or whatever. But it's like, could you imagine if they took this same philosophy, took like Rock and Roller Coaster and themed it to Bluey like that? Do you want to put your 5-year-old on Rock and Roller Coaster?
I wonder if it was their target when they were looking at the target demo. They said, you know what? Our target demo will really appreciate when we put into the queue an island that was operated by slaves. That would be, how about let's put into the queue a place, a salt mine where they actually sent slaves to be punished when they weren't doing their job elsewhere. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Fantastic. That's...
You know what it sounds like to me? We've heard a lot of stories come out of the gaming community, interestingly enough, of production and development teams developing games and hearing feedback, hearing criticism, hearing pushback, hearing, I don't know, the test scores or focus groups,
surveys,
right? And what do we hear from those stories from games like, I don't know, like what is it?
The Justice League.
Justice League, yeah. Is it Justice League? I was going to say, I can't say that on YouTube. So yeah, the Squad League game, right? We've heard that internally the team was like, it's all noise. It's all noise. It'll all come out in the wash. It'll become one of the greatest games ever. Believe in what you're working in, and they just forge ahead instead of actually looking at the criticism and going, maybe they have something. Maybe they're right about something here. And we've heard that multiple times again. I think the same thing played out here. I think the team, internally, they were like, yeah, this is going to be the best ride ever. Maybe not.
And the
maybe
roof
not everybody
goes
was a part of
on,
that.
and nothing can go wrong. And then it all went horribly wrong.
Absolutely. But that group mentality that foments that kind of false confidence, it's a real thing. And I think that's what happened. And it's like, so that's why I think they felt arrogant enough to just tell Legendary Imagineers, you know what? It's really not for you.
Do you think these people would have had the same philosophy if they were put in charge in like the 60s with the moon landing program? They're like, What could possibly go wrong? They do the same implements and shoot the rocket in the wrong direction or something.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine the team? You've seen Apollo 13, right? Where they're trying to get everybody home, and you know it's they're working, you know, 20-hour days attempting to determine how to get our astronauts home there. And can you imagine team today working on that? I mean, it's crazy, right? It's unfathomable, and yet we're living in it. We have a beloved attraction. Some would say the best attraction at Walt Disney World, taken down, transformed for DEI representation reasons, and because of that mindset pervading not only the reason why you do it, but also the creative, the creative fuel for the entire attraction itself to be redone. Well, now that really has poisoned the well, and it's why we're seeing attractions like this, and that's why when I look at that $60 billion, financing for the parks, I'm just like, yeah, but for what though? For more Tianas? Thanks, but no thanks.
Kind of monstrosities. Very well said, Vash. And it's amazing the kind of monstrosities you can make with money. Money can create so many horrendous abominations in this world. And the question is, what happens when that money pool runs out? Because you can't just keep doubling down on failure forever, making these ugly structures, because eventually those things are going to become old, they decay, and people are not going to go there. And you have to think about the future here. That might be the only silver lining with this, is eventually Bob's going to run out of money, and something has to be done about this. Can you imagine in 50 years this ride still being there? I can't.
I can't imagine it being there in 3.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I look at this ride. First of all, just the mechanics of it. It's going to go down in January. They're going to have to try and keep it up every way they can until through the holiday season. We got the busiest season in the year coming up. The fall and the holiday season are the busiest seasons of the year, outside of a few weeks in spring break. They've got to keep the ride going as much as they can. They have Big Thunder going down. They have a huge amounts of other rides going down. Test Track is down at Epcot. Walt Disney World is struggling. They don't have a lot going for them right now, especially after such high criticism, even from the Pixie Dusters, when it comes to what they did at Epcot. There's not a Pixie Duster out there who's saying Communicore is good. Not a single one. And you've got people who used to be the Pixie Dusters also turning on Disney for other things. I mean, I've seen people that I used to watch in the 2019, 2020, so full of the pixie dust, who have now said, I don't like what Disney's doing the last few years. And they don't talk about any of this stuff. They just talk about the fact that they've turned away from it. And the fact of the matter is, Universal, wow, I mean, the opposite. It's like 10 years ago, you could have never convinced me that Universal was going to take over Orlando and be so much more popular than Disney. I wouldn't have believed it. You'd have been like, you're crazy. And now we're actually seeing it happen before our very eyes because of these decisions.
Yep. Extremely well said, Ron. And I remember back it was 2020 in February. It was right before everything happened. And the last time I was down there, me and my mom were making a trip down there. I remember it was right when Galaxy's Edge was new, the Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios was new. And we were talking to, it was like an Airbnb driver, or not, Uber driver. Sorry, misspoke there. And we were talking like, man, these crowds, it was February and all these crowds were in here. It was shocking how busy it was. Yeah. And we were like, man, can you imagine what this place is going to look like in the summer? Like, they were living like kings. They had Toy Story, Star Wars, Marvel. It was like right removed off of Endgame. Like, they were literally the kings on top. And it was like, man, how are they going to handle They Will Never Fall? And it's crazy how so many companies, like, I think wasn't it like Blockbuster, like in 2004, had like their most successful year in their whole existence. and then 10 years later, bankruptcy happened or whatever have you. The story was with that. And the saying goes, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And it's just so shocking how everything with Disney has just been so self-inflicted. You can't blame them for the world, the state of the world with politics or global problems going on across the country and the world. But you can blame them for making poor decisions to retheme $200,000 ride. You can blame them for doubling a ride that should be evergreen with Galaxy's Edge going for the sequel trilogy, which was a bit of a gamble and refusing to acknowledge stuff from the past. Like Toy Story Land, it was well done. Everything was themed to just Toy Story in general. Galaxy's Edge is solely the sequel trilogy. And I don't care if you think Force Awakens is the greatest movie ever made, but I think even someone who's like big on that movie can tell you, why don't you go with the same bet? You can make risky moves, but when you're making risky moves at the casino or something, you don't do it while you're $400 in debt at the bank, like.
And it was so weird. I want to say this. All of this comes from the top. Bob Iger. Okay, it's Bob Iger. It's solely to blame for all this, and because it has to do with the fact that Bob Iger was masquerading for years as a creative, right? Because everybody's like, "Oh wow, that's so smart." Buy Pixar, so smart. Buy Marvel, so smart. Buy Star Wars, so smart. Sounds smart, sounds intelligent, but if all you're doing is buying the IP and you're not creating a darn good thing with it, it don't matter. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure the majority of the success with Marvel, which was in fact probably the most successful IP that they bought, and Pixar, John Lasseter, right, who they got rid of. And once that happened, it kind of started going downhill. And then with Marvel, Ike Perlmutter was the backbone of Marvel, even though he and Kevin Feige butted heads. Kevin Feige was getting all the credit for all the good Marvel success. And, he deserves some of that credit, I'm sure. But Ike Perlmutter also deserves some credit from holding Kevin Feige back from everything that you've seen since 2020 because he wanted to do it all then. And what was happening, in the buildup was great. But like you see all this, and Bob Iger is not a creative. He is a purchaser. And this is when you're not creative, what do? Well, you buy the things that you think are creative. And unfortunately, they have been just they've gone downhill so badly. And things that you never would have thought, who would have thought the MCU could have ever been unsuccessful, right? Who would have thought Star Wars could have been unsuccessful? It's the most popular, successful franchise of all time, and you killed it. How do you do that?
That should be an award of itself. How badly you screw up Star Wars. Like,
well, let's talk about that real fast here. I'll say this. This is going to be the theme here. Wasting money has consequences. For example, we know Tiana's Bay Adventure, we're talking collectively $400 billion between the two attractions. They have also spent $400 million, or just shy of it, $350 to $375 million on reshooting Brave New World. Now, the reason I bring this up, folks, is because, well, you guys saw the trailer to Brave New World, right? If you saw the trailer to Brave New World, you know that one of the big plot lines in this movie is, the president depicted in this film, who looks like is running for office again. Well, there is a incident that occurs in which they are attacked, let's say, in not too dissimilar fashion that we just saw happen in real life with an actual candidate running for office over the weekend. That's in the trailer. Are we going to have to now pull promotional pieces from this film and recut the trailer in order to remove that segment, because obviously that incident is still fresh in the minds of not only Americans but the world? I mean, this is not a good situation to be in. That's first off. But we've already spent $350 million towards this thing. The promotion for this has got to be.
Okay,
Well, exactly right. Two Tiana's Bay Adventures. The promotion for this has got to be what 150 million at least. Now we're spending even more money because, well, maybe what we depicted in those trailers as part of the story that we've written 5 times is ill-timed, let's say. But these things have consequences. If we look at this update from Mice Chat right here, just want to go ahead and go over just a few things that they highlight right here. Look at the state of some of the infrastructure at Disneyland Resort right now. Look at this fountain right here. That's in this state. Again, this is at downtown Disney. This is in front of guests. One of these fountains is marked for removal. We know that. But here it lies in very shabby shape.
That looks like a brand new fountain in Morocco.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, it doesn't look too dissimilar. Now, people will note that because maintenance has been cut at the parks and they just haven't been doing the checks that they should be, especially with the rain that they've had and so forth. Well, we know that the base and supports have rotted, causing issues for guests in which you have light poles actually falling on guests and injuring them. This happened not once, but twice. The injury part only occurred once, thankfully. But this is obviously a safety issue that they've been contending with. They took out these the lights that they felt that could be a problem, but they did that months ago, and they still haven't replaced them, improved infrastructure surrounding them, and they have these plywood cutouts all over the park. And this has been for months, folks. In a place where you pay as high as $200 a day to even enter. This is the show standards that they have for their park right now. These boxes and so forth that we see all over the parks, and these are immaculate pieces. Look at these lampposts right here. These are stunning pieces that they've just removed. Now have boxes in their places here. They've been there for months. If you look at, well, that's another thing right there. But if you look of Cinderella Castle's forecourt, this kind of compass area right here, not Cinderella, Media Castle, sorry, at Disneyland, one of the most popular spots in all of any resort ever. You can see right here the shabby state that all of this is in. Why? Because they keep
logo.
They can it does a little bit. They keep draining money away from the parks and their maintenance budgets and their upkeep budgets in order to, you can see right here, cracking paint, peeling paint everywhere, in order to fund their pet projects in the studio division as they keep racking up the tabs. These wasting money in the foolish way that they have has severe consequences for guests, and some of them might actually affect guests in distinct ways that could be life altering. I'll put it that way. Folks, what do you think of that?
We can have, debates on, like, how should cast members be presented? Is this ride good or not? Is it being a good image? Is our presentation good for the general public? These are all topics that you can get various opinions on. You know what you don't usually get a lot of different opinions on? Upkeep. Doesn't matter if you swing this way, that way, up, down, whatever. Upkeep, when you pay for a product, you want to go to the castle and not see a big crack in the castle. Like, how can you, if money should be going anywhere, numero uno should be for upkeep. You should be going to a place that has class, charm, presentation. You don't want to be walking somewhere and you're afraid a light pole is going to fall on you. It's just, the money needs to be allocated to proper stuff. Instead of the money going into making the park looking better, it goes into retheming projects that people didn't want. It goes into movies like Captain America Brave New World, which are getting these obscene amount of budgets to just keep doubling down on it. And, I got to say, Ron, you were asking earlier about how, you and your wife having like a romantic thing to do, but this Tiana's just wasn't an option. Well, good news for you. Captain America is coming out February 14th, so there's nothing more romantic than Captain America, right?
Fair point.
if things do bleed into the real world, if a certain candidate turned into the Red Hulk, that would be kind of awesome in real life. It's just like, oh no, he'd be like, I'm the Orange Hulk.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's there you go, Red Hulk right there.
Oh,
Great,
boy.
that's good CGI spent. By the way, folks, also to Eternals, now officially part of the MCU. I guess is a reference to one of the big events of that movie in the actual trailer itself. So that's good. That's fantastic. Really throwing the money around in the proper places that everybody absolutely
I
cares
was
about.
really
right
hoping
there.
they would forget about that because that is the worst story aspect of the entire movie. Oh yes, Earth is a giant egg. I think these comic book movie creators, they don't seem to realize that not everything from comic books translates perfectly into live action films, and some things are better left out. What the thing that when the MCU started, what made it work was the plausible reality of Iron Man. Okay, they started with the character where you could see, hey, you know what? Somebody could create this massive energy technology. It's much more plausible. And of course, the situation that was going on at the time, and the way the movie dropped that in, and it was all of it was like, okay, I can get into this because wow, this is very realistic. And then they slowly brought in thematically the more comic elements of Thor and his world, but they made him an alien. Even in that movie, they're like, well, you call it magic, we call it science. Where I come from, they're a bit of both, And they did some explanations in the beginning that really drew you in. And by the time they worked themselves up to Infinity War and Endgame, you're like, okay, but I'm sucked into this already. However, that whole thing has now been split and convoluted because none of the stories seem to connect and none of it really makes any difference. And then they have something, WandaVision comes out in 2021 and they don't have any type of a sequel to that story at all until 2024. And even then, it's in a TV show, not in a movie. Yeah, they've just messed up the MCU. Hopefully not beyond repair.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? I know there's a little bit of a refresh happening right now when it comes to the MCU and the ideas they had on the table at one point. They've now reworked those ideas because I think they've gotten the message, at least from box office performance and everything else.
Right.
That some of these stories aren't working. We'll see if they can even compose stories that are achieve anything else the heights. Or achieve anywhere close to the heights of the former MCU movies. We'll see, but remains to be seen.
It can be salvaged. There's still people hankering for a great Spider-Man movie, a great X-Men movie, honestly, even a great Fantastic Four movie if they do it right. At least it's not a corpse like that suite over in Lucasfilm.
Yeah, they still have elements to work with when it comes to Marvel. They do it can definitely be salvaged, especially when you got a movie like Deadpool Wolverine. I'm looking forward to that. I hope it's good.
Same. Wish it was coming out sooner.
I think it's going to be a good movie. Unfortunately, it's aimed specifically at adults, although they do sell a lot of Deadpool toys to little kids.
A lot more kids. It's like with Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. It's probably a majority of its base is probably going to be way younger than what we actually think. But, we try to, companies try to, usually hide that. Just this companies are a lot more transparent with that. The one thing they're transparent with in this world is that they're okay with putting these kind of contents for kids.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the thing I want everybody to come away with, hopefully you can still hear me. I know I'm getting the Wi-Fi signal right there. I have a new router on the way, folks. Trust me. The thing I want everybody to come away with from this segment here is that for every Channels by Adventure or for every bad investment like Captain America: Brave New World, which at this point now has to achieve well over $1 billion just to break even, it's less money that we have for other things that people care about, that people want to see maintained, fixed, and maybe invested in. it all takes away from that. There's only so much money to go around, so it's really really disappointing, really really disheartening.
You could take money
What's that to
away
say?
from Bob Iger's salary.
You could. Well, I guess we'll see about that come 2026 right there.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's go ahead and get to some super chats right here, and then we will sign off for everybody right here. Looking forward towards Mr. H. I want to go ahead and take away too much time away from them. Also, too, thank you so much for joining us on this 2K stream. The 2,000 subscribers wouldn't have been possible without you. So thank you so much for joining us for all of the fun right there. We have super chat from AWM Trends Entertainment TV, which has been unbelievably generous. Thank you so much towards funding everything we do here, for your amazing support. Thank you. To clarify, yes, protest is tomorrow 4 to 6. It's what I saw. Oh well, you didn't have to throw in a super chat for clarity. It just but thank you so much. What I saw on the union's IG. Okay, that's good to know. I was trying to find the information. I was trying to find out where the source of the information was, because usually you see some union flyers and stuff like that around, but I couldn't find them. So thank you so much, AWM, for clarifying that. Blocking Harbor and Disney Way. Also agree. Iger is full of it. He knows exactly what's going on in ABC. Empty words. Yep, I agree for sure. And also another $2 from AWM Trends Entertainment TV. Oh yes, and Silly Me, congrats on 2K. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for the information. That is very good information. It's something I definitely wanted to know, and very much appreciated. Thank you. Go and Shogi $4.99. Who is buying and carrying around a cartoonishly large jar of pickled peppers? If you want to know, if you want to look like a psycho, crack it open on Pirates and Snack.
What?
It's something they're selling for TBA.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. That's funny. That is hilarious right there. Thank you so much, Go and Show, for the $5. I'm imagining this now, and it's very, very vivid imagery indeed. I guess dead man bring no pickles, I guess. AW and Trends Entertainment TV with another $10 super chat. Thank you so much. TBA, another waste of money. That's Tiana's Bite Adventure. Doesn't work. Should have just left it, or at the very least made it about the movie. Then make sure it actually ran properly. Again, these these are obvious. This does not take a rocket science to do this. It doesn't even take an Imagineer to think this up. This was the obvious direction they should have gone. Why they didn't is why we have so many problems in the world, I suppose. Right now, especially when it comes to
Ferris wheel at your local fair. Just if you have any thoughts about that, when next time you go to your county fair, just remember, at least it's working better than Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yep, indeed. AWM Trends Entertainment TV with another $5. Thank you. Unbelievably generous today. Very much appreciate it. Imagineers actually using their imagination. 2024 Walt Disney Company. Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that it has gotten to this point. It's absolutely insane that KMG actually sums it up right here. I just saw between Tiana's Way Adventure, Snow White, and Captain America Brave New World, the Bob Iger Corporation has just wasted nearly $1.3 billion on projects nobody wanted. I couldn't have said it better myself, KMG. It's absolutely appalling. It's absolutely ridiculous just how much money has been wasted on all of these things. And it is having consequences for not only the parks, but for guests, for the company's products, and just everything else, just really dragging this company down in a fashion that they didn't need, especially with their streaming success or non-success, as it were. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of T3PO Live. This has been an unbelievable amount of fun. That's why I went a little bit longer today, because I was just having so much fun. I was having so much fun with everybody here, with Ron and Nolan especially. Nolan, go ahead and take it away. Where can everybody find you? What you up to?
All right. This right here. This is Slamfest 99. This was an event that was held in Las Vegas, Nevada at a theme park that does not exist anymore. It was there to promote a huge event. It was there to promote Super Smash Brothers, their big new video game, but a lot of real world tragedy happened, and the footage, the original recording of it, became very obscure, and no one's been able to find it. I did a whole documentary about this event. The event was called Slamfest '99. You can find it on my channel at Nolan Thunder with the series called Lost in the Files. I dive into video game mysteries, urban legends, hoaxes, and all sorts of lost media stuff you may have forgotten about. So if that tickles your fancy, I have a documentary up on my channel. And if you like what you see from me here and want to hear more of my takes, I'm also on That Gameplace with the amazing Culture Casino, Jonas J. Campbell, Marvin the Movie Monster, Space Dave, Spencer, all sorts of great people around that. Such apologies, I forgot anybody. You know, sometimes I forget when we have a lot of people, but the place is amazing. Check it out. But if you want to see the documentary, at Nolan Thunder, you want to see my takes, at That Gameplace. Amazing channel. I love the people I work with there. Check it out.
Thank you so much, Nolan Thunder, for everything you do for the That Park Place Network. And That Gameplace is just spamming. It's going so fast. It's into the stratosphere with so much support. Thank you so much for supporting everything that we do, whether it be T3PO, That Park Place, WW Pro, or That Gameplace. Ron has a channel worth supporting as well.
Thank you.
Jet going over there on Bradley's Fun.
So we have not really fully taken a break from it, but just in the process of getting this started, we have a new show called The Daily Dish. And The Daily Dish, we focus on typically one or two news items about that, that are about the parks and about travel to Orlando and those things that are coming in. So, for example, we did talk about Tiana's Bayou Adventure and the cost of it today. That was one of the subjects. Typically, we'll only go over one or two because there's just so much to discuss. We'll really break down what's going on in that particular news item or event. And then we stream right into Culture Casino when he has a 6-minute daily, which usually streams into something for That Park Place WDW Pro show or whatever else is coming along. Now, I've been developing that show, and that's what we're doing in one aspect of the channel. We also, of course, still do our family vlogs and reporting on anything that's going on at the parks in those vlogs. I will be at the Country Bears tomorrow and finally get a chance to see that brand new show at the Magic Kingdom, and I'll be vlogging about that, as well as because I am from St. Louis and through That Park Place Network met Ozark Matt. We sometimes, not every week, but sometimes do a show on Tuesday nights, Two from the Lou, because we're both from St. Louis. We'll be focusing on all the things that are going on in the Midwest when it comes to travel and sightseeing and, the beautiful scenery that's there, some of the parks that are there. We will talk about Dollywood and Branson and different options that people might be taking these days as they change their, budgetary concerns and would still want to go on vacation. Maybe they don't want to come to Florida or California. Maybe they want to go to the Heartland. So we talk about those things. So all of those are going on at Follow the Bradley's Fun. So come over and see us. We'd love to have you.
Thank you so much. The links to everybody will be in the description after this premieres for sure. I believe we did have some moderators actually share some of those links out before. Let me see if I can get Follow the Bradley's Fun up here. Nolan Thunder. Well, obviously it's as shown, but I just want to make sure we have Follow the Bradley's Fun as well before signing off, because you know what, I love that channel. I think you do some amazing work there, Ron. And bring it to us is awesome. Here you go.
A lot of stupid, funny shorts on that channel too.
Let me get Nolan Thunder as well, because I love Nolan. He's such a great guy. He's such a fantastic not only content creator but person. So please go ahead and support these amazing channels right here.
Y'all gonna make me cry on stream
in the chat. Well, people who have supported me, I love to give back as much support as possible and sing their praises because they are some good folks.
And send your praise to Vash too, because of this huge celebration.
Yes.
He's the heart of this channel. Make sure y'all support Vash, because this dude is a genuine soul and the world needs more of those.
And what you do for the for Pro and That Park Place Network and all of your sources and such good stuff.
Well, I very much appreciate it. For me, honestly, I feel like I'm I'm having to keep up, because we got some heavy hitters here at that Park Place Network. I'm just trying to do my part.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward, Vash.
It's about how
that's a
hard
fair
you
point.
get hit.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Also, too, folks, before don't touch the dial. You'll be redirected to Mr. H in just a moment, right here. But just for clarity, I'll be back though with Lou and You is taking place still. We have not forgotten about you. We've not forgotten about the show. We are putting it together right now. Again, it's a 70-page document that we're going over right here about the agreement between the IACSE and the AMPTP, the two parties in the dispute right now in Hollywood that has huge ramifications for the entire industry. They just came to an agreement, and that will be voted in on, I believe, July 17th, with ratification on July 18th, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how that works. Anyway, it's a big deal. Going over AI, going over how the industry works, going over so many things back of house, and it has real implications for the entire entertainment industry. Streaming, everything you know and love will be affected by this. So please go ahead, tune in Thursday. That is 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be there with Lou and a whole lot more. So joining in all that fun. Thank you so much for joining us on T3PO live at our 2K stream. You guys can hear the music, right? Cool, good. At least that's working. Very much appreciate it.
It's kind of distorted right now, so it's kind of like synthwave right now. I kind of like it.
There you go. That should close us out right here. Thank you so much for joining us. You all have a wonderful day. We'll get you right over to Mr. H coming up.